Is Russia reaching far and wide to try to find more war materials? And just what does it have to do with North Korea? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It's September 13th, 2023. This is your daily Ukraine update. Let's get into it. Okay, first, we have the control map where there's actually not been any really substantial updates. The only thing that was sort of interesting is you can see this 1430th regiment that we talked about yesterday, potentially having been defeated in battle, according to some rumors. Well, it looks like they've been repositioned to a much quieter area of the front line. Which may indicate that they've taken a significant number of casualties and are being relocated. They certainly no longer appear to be defending this approach to Novoprokopivka. So I am inclined to say that this is probably them being deemed combat, not totally ineffective since they are still remaining as a frontline unit, but likely highly ineffective and moved to an area of the front line where they're able to recuperate and get plussed up as a result of their losses. Other than that, not a ton of updates, much of anywhere, just other repositioning of forces. You could see Russian forces kind of repositioning around Volodar, moving the 116th Rifle Regiment up to closer to the fighting, and some additional adjustments. Or actually, excuse me, this is the 116th going from the fighting, actually pulling back. So again, you're looking at these sort of repositions, but not much beyond that. You can also see, again, a small area being marked as liberated, as well as a slight counterattack by Russian forces. This, again, so small, it may just be more of a clarification of where Ukrainian forces are actually operating. But when we look over at the control map, or combat map, excuse me, you can see that as of 2 hours ago, Ukrainians are reporting what they're calling partial success in Klitschivka. Again, if they're able to actually liberate this village, but they're probably pretty close to being able to do so. You're also seeing, of course, some level of success in and around the Robtina region is what they're reporting. And we'll talk a little bit more about what we think this actually is dealing with, what exactly this partial success constitutes, because it's pretty unique. But real quick, guys, if you haven't, if you've been under a rock the past couple weeks, you may not know that I have launched something I've been working on for a long time, inspired by my experiences in Afghanistan, where I would just pound energy drink after energy drink to get the caffeine I needed on patrol. And if you've ever had a warm energy drink, you know it's the grossest experience of all time. That's why I created Strike Gum. Oh my God, I should hold it up correctly. Strike Gum has 90 milligrams of caffeine. That's as much as a Red Bull, as much as an Amp Energy in every single piece. If you are someone who likes energy drinks but is looking to not spend $4, $5, $6 on each of them, Strike Gum's a great alternative. But best of all, it's supporting Ukraine. 50% of the profits from the first production run of Strike Gum are going to be donated to charities that support Ukrainian civilians who've been injured or displaced in the conflict. So if you are interested, go to strikegum.com. You can get a pack or a tray, or if you're someone who really is a regular energy drink user, you can actually subscribe. So you get a small discount if you make a recurring purchase, right? Perfect if you're someone who just needs it as an alternative energy drink in the afternoons, or you work somewhere off site and you don't have time to, haul 4 cans of Monster, whatever you need to make it through the day. Perfect for any of you guys. So also, of course, if you're interested in affiliate marketing, we have an affiliate program you can sign up for right there and get 10% of all the sales that come through your link. We even have a Discord and everything else right there. So check the link in the description or right up there, or just go to strikegum.com. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what exactly Ukraine has been doing in and around Novoprokopivka. Now, this is from X, so bear in mind it's kind of just rumors, but the rumor is that Ukraine is actually conducting thunder runs. These are raids performed using primarily heavily armored vehicles. And as we've heard, what's interesting about this to me is that first, we knew yesterday that the rumor was that Ukrainian forces were actually clearing routes through minefields. Now that they appear to have successfully done so, it looks like they're moving through with tanks. They're moving through these cleared areas and are conducting raids, right? Disrupting Russian logistics, breaking up their formations, and generally preparing these Russian defensive positions for an eventual sustained attack. So I think this is a really interesting condition setting. And I think it's indicative that Ukraine is preparing to make a big push on this Novoprokopivka. Likely these Thunder Run type raids are both to disrupt enemy operations, but also reconnaissance, right? These tanks are going to be, doing a little recon in force, where they are going to be assessing what tools, how well equipped the Russian forces are, how willing they are to fight, and then come back and provide that information to infantry forces who are likely going to follow on and begin to conduct attacks on Novoprokopivka and the surrounding area. So it's very, very systematic. It's exactly what we talked about Ukraine doing as this sort of as Novoprokopivka becomes the next target, right? Seizing control of this forested area. And then they're conducting these raids to prepare. As we've discussed, it looks like the 1430th is out of the fight. So there's just the 70th, the 210th, and of course, supplemented by a BARS element. So Ukraine likely going to be starting, you're probably going to see them advance here, seize this forested area, and then you'll see this large portions of this village become listed as contested as Ukrainian forces continue to conduct raids and other sort of preparatory activities prior to a main attack. What's I think the best is that for Ukraine, this means that they are starting to protocolize, I think. They're starting to find tactics that work and that can be run over and over again. Much like the Russian reliance on their assault group system, once they protocolized it, it became very hard for Ukraine to stop those steady Russian advances. Think Bakhmut and Soledar. But now, of course, Ukraine seems to have, if not quite solved the problem, that's a little generous, but found a tactic that allows them to win with an acceptable level of casualties. Now, there's some trade-offs, right? It doesn't look like it's going to shatter Russian lines and allow them to sweep dramatically in, but when you have a more systematic way, you can start to operationalize it, right? You can get more efficient. Once you have a playbook, it's easier to train your people to run those plays really well. It's much harder to fight a war without a playbook. So just some thoughts there. But the real story is Russia reaching out to another pariah country, North Korea. The President Putin has actually met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. And the theory among commentators is that they're probably trying to figure out how to get some artillery rounds, something that North Korea has a ton of. Looking a little bit deeper into this story, so they both have something the other wants. For North Korea, they explicitly want to improve their rocket program. They want the ability to use their rockets because they're highly efficient technologies for a state like North Korea, right? You build a handful of rockets and every surrounding country has to treat you with a certain level of respect because you can reach out and touch them and threaten them in a way that you simply can't do with conventional militaries like infantry and artillery, right? North Korean artillery can't touch Japan, for example, but a rocket could. The problem is North Korea lacks high-tech manufacturing. It lacks technical expertise. It lacks just about everything it needs to build these rockets. So it's really hard to do so. Now, Russia, of course, has this high-level technological base. They have a first-rate space program. In fact, up until the U.S.'s, the Dragon capsule, Russia was the only country that could put human beings in orbit with their Soyuz capsule and their they have a rocket model. It was basically, it's very Soviet, right? It was like designed in like the 60s and it's just a workhorse, just never fails, always launches. So again, you have Russia with the technology. Now, what North Korea has that Russia needs is an absolutely insane number of Soviet-style artillery shells, right? Now, if you look up North Korean military size artillery, let's see. So this is, here we go. The North Korean People's Army Ground Force is almost 8 million active personnel, 1.5 reserve. So you're looking at, probably something comparable in size to maybe the entire active duty force of the United States. Obviously, with a country with probably about 1% or 1 to 5% of the GDP of the economic output. So you can imagine the sort of quality of personnel you're looking at here. But 10,000 different artillery pieces and 5,000 MLRS systems, all of which are designed along Soviet norms, right? These are almost certainly Soviet systems. And so what you have then is that a army with a lot of stuff and a big need for technical expertise and cash. The goal is to sell. The goal for Russia is, of course, is to get North Korea to provide probably not just artillery pieces, right? That's probably the thing we're thinking of the most is artillery rounds, but MLRS rounds, rounds for tanks, spare parts for tanks. There's a whole bunch of stuff, just Soviet era stuff that is needed. And it doesn't have to be dramatic or even necessarily like sexy. It doesn't have to be a super weapon. It just needs to be functional and interoperable with Soviet technologies. So let's see if we can find. It's funny. There's not really a list of North Korean army equipment, right? And probably because nobody actually knows. But let's see, list of Korean People's Army Ground Force stuff. Yeah, here we go. Makarovs, Type 64s. Let's see if we can move on through. But look how familiar all of this looks. Right, here is a Type 82, which is a North Korean copy of a PKM. Right, you have basically an RPK. So some of these are literally just clones of Soviet era equipment. They have their own dishkas. They have their own GP grenade launchers, right? So you can see this is something that is highly interoperable. And you could see here, right? Here's their primary tanks. They call it the Chonma-ho, but it's basically just a Korean upgrade of a T-62. Right, but it has no rangefinder or dubious rangefinder. It has a bunch of problems, but it's almost certainly very interoperable with these with the Soviet era equipment that Russia is launching now. Right, you could see it runs in their modern main battle tank runs a ATGM and an Igla, right? All of this stuff, super interchangeable with Soviet stuff. You can see here, literally, they run T-54s, T-55s, T-62s, T-72s. Right? An unknown number, but probably very, very small. So all this to say, again, you can imagine BTRs, look, 1,000 BTRs, all of this is stuff that Russia would pay top dollar for. And again, for North Korea, given that they have a nuclear program that they want to grow and make more dangerous, then you're likely, to them, some of these are easily sellable. You know, they're very much willing to sell it. Again, you could see all of these different artillery pieces with all different sizes, including very standard Soviet sizes. So, like I said, this is a potentially great exchange for North Korea and Russia, two countries that the international community absolutely hates. Nobody moves to North Korea willingly. Okay, that should tell you everything you need to know about North Korea right there. And frankly, not many people it seems like Russia has more people leaving Russia than coming in. So that should also tell you right there what sort of countries these are. Anyway, guys, that's all I had for you. Thank you so much to all of our Colonel tier members at Combat Vet News, all of our Lieutenant tier members, and all the members at Combat Vet News. You guys really enable me to continue to do this. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.